Okay, so in this lab that we're going to be doing, we're going to be talking about cell tonicity, okay? What happens if you put cells in a saltwater environment versus a freshwater environment? And how does that apply to if you were lost at sea? So this is just a little bit of a pre-lab article to go with what we'll be doing the next couple days to give you an idea of how this stuff works, okay? So you are going to complete the pre-reading activity on your graphic organizer with your group members. Okay, we will do that after we read the whole article. I will have all the questions posted for you in Google Classroom, and you will submit them in Google Classroom. So you will actually need to make sure that you submit the work in Google Classroom because that's where it's going to be graded. Okay, so by the salinity seesaw. How is it that sea-loving marine life doesn't shrivel up and die from all the salinity? Those clever creatures deal with ocean salinity in two ways. They act as an osmotic conformer. Marine plants and invertebrates have no mechanism to control osmosis, so their cells are the same salinity as their environment, 35-ish for ocean dwellers. This means that saltwater intake doesn't disrupt their physiological equilibrium. Or they're osmotic regulators. So most fish, reptiles, birds, and mammals control osmosis in a variety of ways. For instance, salmon use specialized cells on their gills called chloride cells to cope with osmosis. Chloride cells can excrete excess salt, allowing the fish to take in water without dehydrating. So what are the potential effects of drinking seawater? Have you ever been minding your own business on an elevator when an aggressively perfumed person stepped on? What happened? Okay? Did the Axe effect stay on the person? No, it wafts all over the elevator so that everyone can smell it. That is diffusion in action. This net transport of matter from an area of high concentration to an area of lower concentration is happening all the time. When it comes to diffusion in saltwater, though, human cells have biological membranes, which can prevent salt from freely waltzing into our cells. Although our bodies can normalize sodium and chloride concentrations to an extent, dealing with extremely high concentrations of salt in the blood is challenging. That's because a cell's membrane is semi-permeable. Right? We learned about that last week. Although sodium chloride and concentrations of salt in the blood is challenging, okay? Although sodium chloride and other substances may not easily be able to diffuse in and out of the cell wall, water can. When the salt concentration is higher on the outside of our cells than on the inside, water moves from the inside to the outside of the cells to correct the imbalance. The attempt to equalize the concentration of matter on both sides of a semi-permeable membrane is called osmosis. If you're consuming seawater, the results of osmosis are spectacularly disastrous. Remember, the salinity of seawater is almost 4 times that of your bodily fluids. If gone unchecked, the net transfer of water from the inside of your cells to the outside of the cells will cause them to shrink considerably. And shrinking all of your cells is not good, okay? Unless you drink a lot of fresh water, the body's regulatory mechanism in this situation is potentially fatal. With seawater, the change in sodium concentration outside our cells is the main culprit. In order to regain an isotonic state, a must for cell survival, a body's attempts to eliminate the excess sodium from its extracellular fluids. It secretes urine. However, human kidneys can only produce urine that's slightly less salty than that of seawater. So in order to remove the extreme amounts of sodium taken in by seawater, we urinate more water than we actually drink. And that causes dehydration to begin. So if you are guzzling seawater, you actually aren't taking in any water, but you are dehydrating yourself even faster, okay? Because of this net loss, leading to depleted body fluids, muscle cramps, dry mouth, and of course, thirst. The body tries to compensate for fluid loss by increasing the heart rate and constricting blood vessels to maintain blood pressure and flow to vital organs. You'll also most likely to feel nauseous, weakness, and even delirium. As you become more dehydrated, the coping mechanism fails. If you still don't drink any water to reverse the effects of excess sodium, the brain and other organs receive less blood, leading to coma, organ failure, and eventually death. Of course, consuming small amounts of salt water won't kill you. The take-home message is clear, though. Salt and water are consumed separately, and any salt intake should be accompanied by plenty of fresh water.